Hello, students. I welcome you to the second part of our governance session. So, in the first part, we have already discussed some initiatives and the programs. In the second part, we'll be discussing some institutions and the flagship schemes. In the next part, some apps, portals, and some one of the funds, and the most importantly, state government initiatives. So, in the part three, we'll be discussing some of the many of the state governments initiative. Right. Let's start with the institutions. So first is FCI, so Food Corporation of India. So under which ministry it comes in? Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. FCI is always remain in news. Currently, it is in the news because the COVID-19 and the minister has said that we have enough grains for 1 year, and it is up to the FCI. Like FCI is responsible for the distribution, procurement, storage, and the movement of the food grains, and it will be very active in the uh, giving away the not giving away but releasing the food grains, and also taking up the procurement, because procurement will also be tough now because minimum support price is there, but procurement is tough because the many of the vehicles will be not available to the farmers, and the mandis are many of the mandis are closed, right? Okay, coming back to the topic. So FCI, under, as we discussed, which ministry it is responsible for the procurement, storage, and the movement of the food grains. So it procures the food grains at the MSP, right, at the open-ended basis for the quality matching produce, right? Open-ended means there is no quantitative restriction that we will procure only 1 kg or 2 kg, like that. It is also held by the it is also done by the state government agencies, and also private agencies, if FCI does that on the behalf of FCI. So also it liquidates many of the food grains. So under which scheme? Open market sales scheme. So remember, to differentiate between open market sales scheme, this means the food grains disposed by the FCI and the state government, they will sell the food grains through this scheme, right? Versus the open market operations, the monetary policy operation taken up by the RBI, Central Bank of India, or the central bank around the world. So this is that you need to differentiate, because once UPSC can ask this question differentiating the two schemes. Next, this question has been asked in UPSC. So what are the economic costs to FCI? So economic cost to FCI, the whole process what they are doing, it includes what? So first is includes the procurement incidentals, for example, the labor and transportation costs, the go down rental, then the distribution cost. So the freight, handling, storage, interest charges, losses during the storage. So all these charges are taken up by the FCI. So there will be two prices. So first is the economic price, economic cost, that is being final cost taken by the FCI right from the procurement to the distribution stage, minus the central issue price. Central issue price is means the price by which the people buy the food grains. For example, under the food grains, under the different scheme, food security means, for example, 2 rupees, 1 rupee per kg rice, 2 rupee wheat, and like this. Okay, so the difference between those two, the final, the economic cost that is being bore by the bore by the FCI, not bore by the FCI, but the economic cost that is overall comes out in the very economic market sense, minus what is being government is providing people food for, and the difference is the food subsidy. Now get the point. So this is the food subsidy. Now you can see why food subsidy is rising every year. Why? Because every year the economic cost is increasing, but the central issue price remain more or less constant, because it is also a political cost also is there if they increase the central issue price, right? So this remains constant, and the economic cost every year increases because the labor cost, the go down charges, the interest rate. So every year our food subsidy burden on the government increases, right? So it is reimbursed to the by the government as the food subsidy. Getting my point? So this is the FCI's thing. Now this question has been asked in UPSC CSE 2019. So what will be the answer? So economic cost of the food grains to the FCI is the minimum support price and the bonus if paid to the farmers, plus what is included. So not transportation only is not there, interest only is not there. Then they included the charges for the go down, but however the better option is C option, that incidental and the distribution cost. So answer will be C, right? Let us discuss the next institution. that is National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, that is NAFED. So it is under the registered under the Multi-State Cooperative Society Act. The objective is to promote the cooperative marketing of the agriculture produce to benefit the farmers. So obviously it also takes with along with the FCI, it takes up the process of the procurement of the food grains. Okay, and also the idea is to promote the trade of the agriculture produce and the forest resources. Why it is important? Because we have discussed Operation Greens, remember? So Operation Greens, one of the nodal agency to implement the price stabilization is under is this NAFED. So NAFED, as we discussed, NAFED along with the Food Corporation of India plays an important role in the procurement of this. One thing I forgot to mention in the FCI, I just quickly go to the FCI, which is the committee set up for the restructuring of the SPI was Shanta Kumar Committee. Okay, so Shanta Kumar Committee, if the question comes, it's a very old in 2012 it was set up, but the recommendations are highly relevant to this point. It has given a very far reaching recommendations, so very important recommendation, especially for the mains. So if the question comes on FCI, if the question comes on agricultural distribution, or the question comes on PDS, you should mention the recommendation of Shanta Kumar Committee recommendations, right? Okay, we will discuss that some other day in the mains if we have the opportunity, but currently focusing on the prelims. Next is National Institution for Research and Development in the Defense Shipyard. So it's a huge name. So finally the short name is Nirdesh. So the Nirdesh was set up to the idea was the Nirdesh to set up a self-reliance, to have a self-reliance in our defense manufacturing, especially in the defense shipbuilding. Okay, it's the first center for the research and development. However, the progress on this front has been really low. So it has been a limbo because it has not getting any proper structural support from the authorities. Okay, so that is Nirdesh. So what you need to remember, that under which ministry it is there? Ministry of Defense. And another Ministry of Defense, again is India Air Book stuff. Institutions, many of the India Air Book stuff we take up, right? So Department of the Defense Production, this particular institute is there, right? This clipping is from the December month, that is why we have covered this particular institute. Okay, next is railway restructuring, important for this year prelims. So what they have done in railways, we'll discuss that. So the restructuring of the railways was recommended by many committees, right from the 1994 Prakash Tandon committee to the recent one, Bibek Debroy committee. You need to remember a few committees with respect to railways. For example, Bibek Debroy committee, Anil Kakodhar committee, right? These are the recent committees that you have to mention in your answers also. So Kodhar committee for the railway safety, it is there. Many of they also told about the railway safety. Vivek Debroy also talked about it. Sam Patroda talked about modernization of railways. Last time we have in the science and tech we have discussed LHB versus ISCF coach. So almost all the committees have recommended that we should quickly move to the LHB coaches, right? Okay, so what they have done in the restructuring of the railways. So earlier 8 Group A services. So earlier we have Group A services, 8 Group A services, they all being merged to form a Indian Railway Management Service. So that is why I talked to my friend, he is an engineering IS. So he was saying that many of the railway services exam will not be conducted under IS. Not very sure how the people from the IRMS will be selected, whether it be the civil services or IES, or a separate exam of the railway will take place. So again, this has to be seen. So railway board to be organized on a linear structure. So they are also talked about the railway board should be restructured. Okay, so it will be headed by a chairman of the railway board who will be a chief executive officer, right? So this is the Indian Railway Management Service, is the new service that will come up by integrating the earlier 8 cadres of Group A service. So again, railway board. So what is it? Railway board is the apex decision making authority in the Indian Railways and reports to the Parliament via Ministry of Railways. So now it has been reorganized into different departments like mechanical, electric, traffic and finance, vertically separated, and each head will be headed by a secretary, right? Obviously. Next is National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management. So the government Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has come up with this particular institution. They have set up this particular institutions for what? From the name itself, National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management. So it will take up the study and the researches for the CRZ. So remember CRZ, important CRZ notification has some changes, tweaks have been done. So it becomes relevant for this year's exam. So what will be the objective of this center? Obviously, again, not to be discussed, to advise union state governments on how to go better do this coastal zone management, then make a world class knowledge institutions and these things. Okay. Next is integrated command and control center, ICCC. So integrated command and control center, they are basically they were set up under the smart city mission. So it will be set up as a hubs for the you can see envisaged to be the brains of the city operation, right? What they will do, especially in the time of the exceptions, disaster management, like this, under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, right? So it will have different layers and component and will act as a decision support system for the city administration, right? So currently, if we see COVID-19, so these centers are highly hyperactive now, because that is what they are envisaged for, right? In fact, in Jabalpur, it is seen that these institutions have played a very good role in reducing the extent of the damage of the COVID-19, right? Till now, no death has been reported in the Jabalpur. A specific example is that overall, in every smart city, this particular centers are working, because currently COVID-19 is more or less focused on the urban areas only. I hope it does not go to the like rural area, otherwise it would be a lot of burden on the health infrastructure. Right, quickly we move to the next topic, that is Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India. So this Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India is a basically special purpose vehicle. For what purpose? For making a dedicated freight corridor. Okay, first of all, what is dedicated freight corridor? So for example, earlier what used to happen, the same tracks were used by the passenger rails, and passenger rails, that means in which we go, and the same were used by the freight rails. For example, the Malgadi, it is said, right, which does not need to stop on the many station. But if they share the same share the same track, then what will happen? Then they have to wait for that, they have to give way to the passenger trains, or if passenger trains face some problem, or they have to stop somewhere passenger, so they also have to be stopped. Now dedicated freight corridor provides a one stop tracks for the freights only. So it will improve what? Logistics cost of India, reduce the logistics, improve the logistics and reduce the logistics cost of India, obviously. Then ease of doing business, it will improve, right? So this is the idea behind the dedicated freight corridors. Okay, so this is set up, this particular institute has been set up to get this done. So it has been set up with 100% equity by the Ministry of Railways and registered as a company under the Companies Act. So what are the different freight corridors are there? So the major one currently on the very high pace working is the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor and Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, right? So we'll see the location of the you can read it here. So if we see the quickly the location of the Western Dedicated Corridor, you can see this is there. So this is Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. This is Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor. You can see in the you passing from UP Bihar to the Kolkata. Then 4 more corridors were announced. For example, East West Corridor. You do the mapping yourself, right? I'm just giving you a hint. So East West Corridor is this one, right? So East Corridor from Kolkata to Mumbai, from Kolkata to Mumbai. Then North South Corridor from Delhi to Chennai. So from Delhi then to Chennai, you can see here North South Corridor, it is written in North South Corridor. Then East West Corridor, East West Corridor from Kharagpur to Vijayawada. So East Coast Corridor, sorry, East Coast from Kharagpur in the West Bengal to the Vijayawada, so along the east coast. Then Southern Corridor from Chennai to Goa, so this is Southern Corridor. So these are the 6 corridors are basically there. So make a list of it, try to make a map on the simple India map, right? So try to make a map and right, so this is important for us. Actually, that's not too much in current affair, but if we discuss anything with respect to dedicated freight corridor, why it was in current affair? Because of this. Now, because it comes up, we have to discuss everything. So it is said to be world's second biggest operational control center has been set up in the Prayagraj for Eastern dedicated freight corridor. Now the government is saying we will also set up similar at the Western Corridor, not currently set up. So a nodal control center. Okay, it will be the nerve center of the whole Eastern dedicated freight corridor. So there will be one center on which all the coordination, all these things will take place. So now we are finished with the institutions. Quickly we'll see the flagship schemes. So first starting with the Kaushal Vikas Pariyojana. So it was launched in 2015. Quickly after 1 year it was revamped. So PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana 2.0 was launched. Now government is thinking to launch third phase of the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana by 2021. Okay. So in the second phase, there was a mandatory provision for the placement tracking was there, right? In the second phase, they have also changed a few things. So for example, they have moved to the grant based model. For example, earlier the training center will provide the assessment and the training. They will be later reimbursed. Okay, so that is there. Not too much to be discussed there. Okay, on the basis of the Kaushal Kendra are set up, on the basis of this Yojana, Kaushal Kendras are set up, the training centers which will be the training hubs to provide the basic skilling to the people. So it is to be opened in the every district. Next scheme is Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protsahan Yojana. So this scheme is under Ministry of Labor, right? So we to remember first of all ministry for this scheme, right? Because similar scheme is also in Ministry of Textile. So we have to compare between those two. So it is implemented by Ministry of Labor and Employment through EPFO. So what it does basically, the economic survey has argued that many of a time, because there are 12% of the contribution by the employer, those who are giving the salary to the, for example, to the social service, social security. So that is why many of the times employer is not willing to provide, does not want to provide a formal employment. So he keeps the employment in the contract basis, that we will provide a contractual employment. So contractual employment, when it is there and the no formal employment is there, there is no social security. So just because this 12% cost is given by the employer, they say that we will go into this contract labor rather than the formal good jobs. Survey called it a regulatory cholesterol. Okay. Survey mentioned that it is a regulatory cholesterol and we need to remove it. So the government, to give an incentive to the employment, to give an incentive to the employer to provide the good jobs, to provide formal jobs, they have said for the 3 years we will contribute. The government will contribute to the 12%. So the employer does not have to contribute, the government will contribute to the 12% for the people, right? And this is the whole Rozgar Protsahan scheme. From the name itself, Rozgar Protsahan, that means incentive for the employment to the employer, right? Okay, so for example, when in the formal employment, what happens is basically the employees contribute. So from our salary, 12% of the goes to the EPF, right? And from government side, the 12% goes in two forms: first for the pension scheme and second for the provident fund. So the now this fund will be given by the government for the 3 years to these people, right? So to provide more and more employment, many of the prerequisites are there. Just read it up, very easy. So these prerequisites, if our organization follow, they will get this particular benefit, right? Next is Mission Antodaya. So remember, first of all, Mission Antodaya is not a mission which provides schemes or benefits. It is a convergence and a monitoring framework, okay, which takes up that how much, and the monitoring framework which takes up how the schemes are performing and leading to the qualitative development to the life of the people, right? So the aim is to address the multi-dimension of poverty, and overall idea is to reduce the poverty, obviously. So recently, one of the Gram Panchayats of the Tamil Nadu, that is Mulugam Bondi, has topped the ranking of the Gram Panchayat. Okay. Also important, it is under Ministry of Rural Development. Okay, so under Ministry of Rural Development, this particular mission is launched. So the idea is to, that is what we're discussing, it's a convergence and the accountability framework for the optimal use and the management of the resources allocated by the ministries and the ministries of the government. Getting my point? Right. And the focal point will be the gram panchayats. The gram panchayats will be the focal point of the convergence. Annual surveys will be taken up. They will create a gram panchayat plans, and finally they will rank the gram panchayats also. So the idea of competition among the gram panchayats, right? Okay, next is Amrut mission. So Amrut mission is succeeded the Jannu Ram, right? Jawaharlal Nehru urban rejuvenation mission, something like that. So currently they have not been able to get the targets fixed, so they have increased it till the March 2022. It is under which ministry? Ministry of Housing and the Urban Affairs. So the idea is to, so they were new avatar of the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, not rejuvenation, I'm sorry, renewal mission. So what is the difference? Basically, how the current government of the current cabinet minister differentiates it. He says that majorly the one point of uh, difference between the two schemes, Jannu Ram and the Amrut, is that the Amrut missions is a, what the minister says, that's what I'm saying, is a bottom to top scheme. For example, all the plans are taken up by the city in the form of the urban local bodies, then it is taken up at the central level. In the Jannu Ram, it was in the top to bottom strategy, right? Apart from that, other differences you can see, Jannu Ram is for the creating a productive and efficient city, whereas Amrut is more towards the more focused towards the basic services, right? Right. So otherwise everything is more or less same. Centrally sponsored schemes. So the idea is to transform 500 cities and town into then efficient urban living spaces over the period of 5 years, and those 5 years have been extended up to the 7 years now. Right. So this is the key feature: water supply, sewage, storm water, draining, public transport, and all these things. The specific things, very specific, what are the details you need to cover in the mains. For the prelims, this much is enough. Under which ministry it is there, why it was extended, uh, um is the coverage is the whole urban cities or specific cities, something like that. Okay, what is the difference between Jannu Ram and Amrut? Bas, that's it. Last thing we're going to see, Atal Bhujal Yojana. So a central sector scheme for 5 years from 2021, very recent scheme, and it becomes relevant for prelims. This scheme, please keep in mind. So the funding of the scheme is important, so we'll discuss the funding later. So it is launched in 7 states. Just like Mission Parivar Vikas was launched in 7 states, it is also launched in 7 states. Not the same 7 states, obviously, which contains the 25% of the overly exploited region. Atal Bhujan means it is for the groundwater, right? So the aim is to provide the groundwater management in the priority areas through community participation. So the idea of community participation, gram panchayats, participatory governance, all these will dominate in the, or these will be the governing principles of the Atal Bhujal Yojana. So which of the states are there, you need to remember. So again, how to remember? Make a India map, mark it up, take a photo, or add to your notes, right? So the states are MP, UP, Haryana, Rajasthan, not Punjab, right? Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. So what I'll suggest you, make a India map and map all, take all the states so that you can retain these things, right? So the implementation scheme, within those states also some specific districts are selected, right? So that's what I'm discussing you, that what are the principles governing this scheme: behavioral changes, panchayat led, demand side management, participatory governance, and all these things. Right. So the funding of this will come from the outlay of 6,000 crore for the 5 years. So 50% will be given by the World Bank in the form of the loans. Remaining 50% will be by the central assistance. So again, central sector scheme, right, from the regulatory budget, from the regular budget, right. And the state will be leading this. So outlay of 6,000 crores and all the same things that is there, right. So remember, Atal Bhujal Yojana, very important for this year. Okay, so that's the end of the session. Quickly, let us revise the things that we have done. So we started with the FCI. So what is the committee? Shanta Kumar committee. Recommendations are there for FCI. We've discussed one previous question as well. Then NAFED for Operation Greens. Then Nirdesh for the defense shipbuilding research, and currently in limbo, waiting for the revival. Railway restructuring, Railway Board, Indian Railway Management Services, they have decided to come up with. Then Railway Board, already there. Then National Center for the Sustainable Coastal Management to be set up in Chennai, Okay, so remember this name, to be set up in Chennai. Then integrated command and control center for the COVID-19 that we have seen, currently working very efficiently for that. Then dedicated freight corridor. Remember the map. Please make the map and connect the different areas, because in that map many things are there, right? So if you make a map only the 6 corridors, it will help you to remember it also, right? Next is Pradhan Mantri. In the flagship schemes, we have Kaushal Yojana, Kaushal Kendra. We have seen the Protsahan Yojana, 12% contribution by the government. Mission Antodaya by Ministry of Rural Development, a convergence and the accountability framework. Then Amrut Mission, the difference between Jannuram. Then finally we ended with the Atal Bhujal Yojana. Remember the funding pattern of the Atal Bhujal Yojana, right? Because the question if asked, it will be on this line. Apart from the states in which it will be implemented. Remember, just like Mission Parivar Vikas that we've discussed in the, I think, previous session in the first part. So similarly, it will be in the 7 states, but specific districts of the 7 states, right? So with this, we come to an end of our discussion. So we have discussed the part 2. Now in the next part, we'll be discussing the apps portals, few of the things, and finally we'll end with the some of the awards we'll also discuss, right? So see you in the next class. Thank you everyone, and stay safe, keep learning. Please comment if you want any additional help. As I always tell, we are ready to help you, right? So in the next class, thank you everyone.